Welcome technicians. Today we look into how the sample is received in a laboratory. Okay, so that is the sample reception. So from OPD and from checkup area and all, the sample is collected by us only and it is brought to the third floor. Whereas samples from the wards, ICUs, OTEM, emergency area and all, that is directly sent to the third floor lab. They won't send it to OP sample collection area and all. It is directly comes to the third floor. Now sample from our OP and checkup area is brought by our own FNO from the lab, whereas the sample from the wards, OT and all is brought by their own FNOs. Individual wards have got individual FNOs, or sometimes even the nursing students also will bring it to the lab. Okay, so there are some criterias how we exactly have to receive the samples. Say for example, if it is coming from an OPD or checkup area, so first and the foremost thing, the request has to be generated in the HIS itself. So since it is coming from the OPD and checkup, so barcode everything would have been already taken. So the request will be in the sample collection department wise. So it will be in the sample receive department wise, like that. Okay, whereas and then along with that, the sample in the vacuitainers or whichever sample collection devices are there, in that it will come with a barcode everything attached. Okay, so whether if it is the samples are coming from other areas like emergency ICUs and all, then the request will be generated and the request will be there in the specimen collection itself. So we need three things present here. One is the request in the hospital information system, the respective collection devices and the respective samples for those particular tests, and then there is a ward book in which they have to enter the patient name, UHID number, from which ward they are coming, what are the tests, like that they will enter it in the book and they will send it. So the importance of that we will see as we go along. Okay, so first for the OPD, so you check the patient name and UHID number in the HIS. So once the patient name and UHID number is present in the HIS, identify it in the barcode in the sample this thing. Now after that, uh, check the test that has been asked, what is the test and whether the sample collection devices for that particular test are correct or not. Okay, once all these things criteria are met, then we can continue to the next one. Whereas in case of ICU and emergency, again patient name, UHID number you have to match with the respective samples, and then check the tests that are present, so whether the test and the collection devices are properly present and they are matching or not. And once that is done, check the book. Here also the entry in the test in the entry in the book and the in the HIS, they both should match. The patient name, UHID number in the book and the request in the HIS and the samples, they all three have to match. Once all these three are met, then only we will continue. So now we will acknowledge. So as I told, if it is coming from the IP from sample collection, it will be moved to specimen collection department wise, and from there it will come to result entry. Whereas from OPD, directly from department wise, it will move to result entry. So barcode, one more thing we need to do is, once that is done, so we take a barcode, we put it in our main sample reception book and write down what are the tests that is present. Now this is very important because this will show what is the date and time at which the sample has come to us. Okay, so this is the book where from the ward and all they bring, so where the patient name and other things are entered, what is the test that has to be done is entered. So we put our barcode like this, we put our barcode and we sign that such a sample has been received. So this is very important because what happens is, most of the ICUs and other areas, night 12 o'clock 1 o'clock only they would have raised the request, but the samples are sent usually at morning 5 o'clock 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock, in that range. So what happens, the HIS will show request generated at that 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock in the night, whereas the sample is received at early morning only. So there is will be a disparity. For that reason, it's important that we put our own barcode telling that we received such a sample at this time, and we sign it further to tell that yes, we have received that particular sample. Okay, so this is the whole idea of why we are again signing in the book. Otherwise, normally from the HIS itself would have been over. So let us understand a little bit about our barcode also. So this is the request number. Okay, so it changes every year. Of course, this is a dummy barcode, so don't have to worry, dummy names and dummy this thing and all. Okay, so this is the request number, and then this is the date and time at which the sample has been received by us, the barcode, a patient name, the UHID number, and the age and sex. So usually what happens, the age always comes in the years only. So if the baby is in days and months and all, this area comes little, it comes -1 or 0 something. So at that time we have to check the HIS, and as per that we should go along. Okay, so sometimes it has been seen that sample, patient has come to emergency, but patient has not been registered in the HIS yet, but they might want to, the sample to be sent for an emergency reasons. So during that time we just see whether the emergency book which I showed you just now, so like this. So here instead of this sticker, they would have written the patient name, UHID number and all, and they would have mentioned what is the test and all. So we also cannot be able to produce the barcode, but we acknowledge the sample telling that we have received such an emergency sample, and with that only we will go ahead and do the test. This is to ensure that the delay in lab test can be avoided. Okay, there are some special circumstances which we have to look into. So, and those are all like, if the test involves any coagulation analysis like PT, APTT or anything like that, then we have got a form, and this is a form, and they have to enter this, like what is the patient name, UHID, why they are doing this test, whether it is for operative procedures, or patient's liver function is abnormal, or patient is on anticoagulants, patient has a bleeding, doesn't have a bleeding. So all these things have to be entered, and they will just send this form also along with that particular PT or APTT test. Similarly, if HIV related any tests are going on, then they have to, then the consent form has to be taken, and the consent form will have the patient name and other details, and the authorized person who is consenting for that, maybe patient himself may be consenting, but in children and all, the guardian will be signing for the system. Okay, and any type of biopsy samples or histopathology report tests and all are there. There is a separate biopsy form is there, and that biopsy form has to be present in this. Okay, so once it is, the sample is accepted, then the sample will be moved to respective sections like hematology section, urine section, biochemistry section, or microbiology section. And also we look into what are all the outside tests that may be present in that. So accordingly, we whether the sample has to be separated, kept in a separate sample collection devices, all these things are checked, and as per that the sample processing will be done. Okay, now while receiving the samples, we have to have something like a acceptance criteria and rejection criteria also. Like rejection criteria will involve something like name and UHID number of the patient is not there on the sample collection device, or there is a mismatch or anything. This is a part and process of the sample receive itself, and during NABH classes I will elaborate some of these rejection criteria and acceptance criteria and all. Hope you are able to understand it. Thank you.